We're thinking about options about how to make this work.
I just hope he doesn't accept inspectors.
Because if he does, the UN inspectors...
We're not back into a cat and mouse game indefinitely.
The larger point is, and the fundamental question is, did Saddam Hussein have a weapons program? And the answer is absolutely. And we gave him a chance to allow the inspectors in, and he wouldn't let them in.
If you're saying let's turn back the clock, and Saddam Hussein had opened up his country to IAEA inspectors, and they'd come in and they'd found that there were no weapons of mass destruction.
With the destruction of the Al-Samud missiles continuing, the UN weapons inspectors set off again to supervise the process. The destruction of the missiles is being seen in some quarters as Iraq's most serious step towards disarmament in 4 years. The missiles are only being glimpsed on their way to be destroyed because Iraqi officials say pictures of their actual elimination would be too painful for Iraqis to witness. But the process itself may not continue if, as reported, American and British pilots are stepping up their attacks inside Iraq's no-fly zones. These reported attacks are seen in Baghdad as a prelude to war, adding to concerns that Washington is preparing to bypass the United Nations in its drive towards war.
Crude tools for a very sensitive job. These earth movers plowed into Al-Taji base north of Baghdad today to smash up more of Iraq's banned Al-Samud missiles. 6 were expected to be destroyed. That leaves more than 90 missiles to go. The UN calls this a significant step in the disarmament of Iraq. But the mathematics of missiles doesn't satisfy in London and Washington, and Iraq today redoubled its effort to persuade the world it's cooperating and to head off war.
If war takes place, if war happens, it's not because Iraq has not done all it could regarding disarmament. Iraq is doing all it could possibly do.
But the Americans call this a game of deception.
Iraq has also said it will submit a report to the inspectors on the amounts of anthrax and VX nerve agent, which it says were destroyed 11 years ago after the first Gulf War.
The inspectors' presentations to the UN Security Council, Ray Suarez reports.
In his third update to the Security Council this year, the chief weapons inspector, Hans Blix, said his team has faced relatively few difficulties gaining access to Iraqi sites, and he reported recent progress in the area of monitoring Iraq by air.
At this juncture, we are able to perform professional, no-notice inspections all over Iraq and to increase aerial surveillance.
In Iraq, Monday was just another day for the weapons inspectors of the United Nations. For nearly 4 months, they've examined hundreds of sites across Iraq for the weapons whose existence Britain and the United States say justifies war. Clearly, there's much still to do, but all the signs are that their work will soon be curtailed. They've been advised by the Americans to leave, and although no decision has been taken, it can only be a matter of time before they're withdrawn.
The UN ordered all its employees to leave Iraq today amid signs of the looming conflict. The agency has some 300 people in the country, including weapons inspectors and relief workers. Secretary General Annan, in announcing they would be withdrawn, said those who wanted to avoid war were disappointed and frustrated.
In the sense that we are not able to do it peacefully, obviously it's a disappointment and a sad day for everybody. War is always a catastrophe. It leads to major human tragedy. Lots of people are going to be uprooted, displaced from their homes, and nobody wanted that.
The U.S. diplomatic window on Iraq was formally shut down this morning by Secretary of State Colin Powell. He spoke to reporters in Washington after the U.S., Britain, and Spain pulled a proposed resolution at the UN. Here are some excerpts.
As you heard the President and the other leaders who assembled in the Azores yesterday for the Atlantic Summit say, the window on diplomacy is closing. the moment of truth is arriving. And you will hear a speech from the President of the United States this evening. President Bush will address the nation and the world on the situation as we now see it. In his speech, he clearly will issue an ultimatum to Saddam Hussein that the only way to avoid the serious consequences that were built into 1441 is for Saddam Hussein and his immediate cohort to leave the country.